Ancient Egypt was the birthplace of the esoteric and occult knowledge, according to many experts. Their outlook of the universe deeply influenced the forthcoming nations and cultures for more than 2,000 years. In these ancient times, there lived many masters and students of occult knowledge. These ancient people theorized cosmological mysteries about the sun, the earth, the moon, and the many planets of our galaxy. These concepts would now come off as incomprehensible to a modern person dominated by positive science. However, through charitable research, it's possible to see ancient people left behind timeless, enlightening teachings about conceptions of life, death, matter, and spirit. The modern interpretation of the legends has it that among the great mystics of ancient times, someone known as the Master of all Masters once lived. It's mentioned that in many Renaissance texts that the Egyptians deified this person and made him one of their gods, under the name of Thoth, the mediator between man and divine. Years after, the people of ancient Greece also made him one of their many gods, calling him the messenger god Hermes. Characterized by his teleria, his winged sandals, lyre, his musical instrument, caduceus, his iconic staff, and Perosos, his round hat. This deified figure, who Egyptians called Thoth and the Greeks called Hermes, is referred to in Greek writings as the inventor of magic, alchemy, astronomy, medicine, and occult wisdom. In many of the 16th and 17th century alchemical scriptures, he is referred to as Hermes Trismegistus, meaning Hermes the Thrice Great, the original author of the Emerald Tablet, and the teachings of whom revolutionized the art of alchemy for many generations to come. The Emerald Tablet was broadly acknowledged by the Renaissance alchemists to be the obligatory source of the occult studies. These principles surprisingly correlate to the process of alchemical transformation, also composed of 7 principles. To summarize them, Hermes Trismegistus's emerald formula are: the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. The principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. These principles of Hermetic wisdom the Emerald Tablet provides us with constitute the fundamentals of the art of alchemy, which, contrary to general belief, dealt with the mastery of mental forces, the transmutation of one kind of mental vibration into another, instead of the transformation of metals. The symbolic nature of all the legends of the Philosopher's Stone, which would turn base metal into gold, therefore, is an allegory relating to Hermetic philosophy, the discovery of the inner gold through the sheer force of the mind. Visita interiora terra rectificando invenius occultum lapidem. Visit the interior parts of the earth. By rectification thou shalt find the hidden stone. This medieval Latin acronym, according to the alchemists of the 16th century, is attributed to Basilius Valentinus, also known as Basil Valentine, who was considered to be a Hermetic philosopher and an alchemist from the 15th century Germany. Vitriol, in short, is the symbolical expression of self-discovery. but as mentioned by many Hermetic philosophers, not entirely for the faint of heart. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. According to many studies carried out by different philosophers, researchers, and medicinal experts like Paracelsus, Basil Valentine, Isaac Newton, Dennis W. Hogg, and most predominantly the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung, the art of alchemy is more than a practical lab experiment for immortality or unlimited supply of gold. It's a psychological and spiritual practice of personal transformation formed by mystical, occult, and centuries-old mythological interpretations. Carl Jung, during the last 30 years of his life, devoted his time to his researches on the subject of alchemy. In fact, his theories of archetypes, archetypical figures, and the unconscious are heavily inspired by his discoveries in overlooked scriptures of the alchemists between 16th and 18th centuries. Alchemy's tam etice quam physicae, as much ethical, i.e. psychological, as physical, is impenetrable to our logic. If the alchemist is admittedly using the chemical process only symbolically, then why does he work in a laboratory with crucibles and alembics? And if, as he constantly asserts, he's describing chemical processes, why distort them past recognition with his mythological symbolisms? According to the study, the main principles of alchemical transmutation are constituted by 7 stages. To better understand the psychological aspects of alchemy and what it could symbolize for personal transformation, it would be a good start to understand the analogical interpretation of the art as put forward by Carl Jung. The 7 steps of acquiring the Philosopher's Stone. This requires, simply put, only one thing: imagination, man's unique gift. Quoting from a Renaissance alchemist, "You break through space, fly to heaven in broad daylight, and shed the flesh and bone bag, which is now as useless as the alchemical workshop and vessels once the stone has been perfected." Psychologically, what the alchemists intended by the Philosopher's Stone was the development of a permanent condition of higher awareness. We must keep in mind that the alchemists always operated on the spiritual, psychological, and physical realms at the same time. Stage 1. Calcination. Heating the substance over flame until it turns to ashes, meaning breaking down of the false ego and attachment to material world. In modern terms, the breaking of previously held ideals, expectations, and preconceptions of the internal and the external world. Step 2. Dissolution. Dissolving the leftover ashes of the substance into water, meaning the immersion into the unconscious. The term of unconscious may sound familiar to a modern person, but to simply put it, it stands for the part of ourselves that which most of us would rather not acknowledge, traits that we consider rather dark, negative, unorthodox, immoral, and narcissistic. Also known as the shadow in analytical psychology. Conscious mind releases control, leading to a resurfacing of parts of ourselves that were hidden, parts that we suppress, ignore, or simply not acknowledge. Step 3 is separation. The isolation and filtering of the products of dissolution. The re-evaluation of resurfaced material and the step where one shall decide on what to separate from or integrate to the self. Metaphorically speaking, this is the stage where one reviews their selves by standing equally far from the good and the bad, light and the dark, the ever-existing, polarized characteristics of ourselves, the recognition of dualities within the self. Step 4 is conjunction, the formation of a new substance from the separated elements we chose to keep, merging of the conscious and the unconscious aspects of the self to a single essence. Symbolically, the union of dualities, which allows the true self to emerge and the person to be reformed. Step 5. Fermentation. Induce chemical breakdown of substance with bacteria or other microorganisms. Meaning, initiation of spiritual awakening through testing the strength of the solution. The formation of a strong character requires experience. This is the test of the reformed substance, the self. Hardship and the journey into the unconscious breeds psychological resilience and practical knowledge about real internal darkness. Step 6. Distillation. Boil and condense solution to increase purity. Purification of the spirit, where one makes sure the ego no longer controls them, giving them the ability to appreciate the beauty of the collective existence. This translates to, in mythological terms, the hero overcoming the dragon that used to dominate him. The seventh and the last step is coagulation, the transformation to a solid state, the union of matter and spirit that allows us to perceive the world without dualities, and to perceive existence on all levels of consciousness, internal and external, above and below, within and without. This is the finalized conception and the definition of the true self according to Jung. Seeing things as they are, seeing the external free of judgment through the internal eye of the mind, the constant state of being one with the cosmic conscious, the famous philosopher's stone, the inner gold. The transmutation of the base metal into pure gold is thus complete. The phoenix rises from the ashes, a new self is born, the purest form of our philosophical gold.